All right, so we are discussing Saving by Melina Marchetta. It's just me and Meryl today. Yay, us!
Yay, us. I actually read the book like really soon this time, and then nobody read it. I was like, come on, guys, if I can do it. If I can finish a book, somebody else can do it.
Well, Pam started it and she
Eli
didn't read it, so she didn't finish it.
Yeah, and I think Eli did read it, but just couldn't make the meeting.
Yeah. Oh, well.
Well,
what did you think?
I actually really liked it, but I guess like the biggest thing was I liked the way that they described, or I guess I liked the way that the author used the relationship between the mom and the daughter very slowly. Like I thought that it was a very like realistic build up to like what it feels like to deal with depression with somebody who's very close to you. And I thought it was really good the way that they kept the reasons why kind of a secret towards the end. Because I felt like it was really a true way of like how a lot of kids deal with parents like who are like going through depression, and like with like parents, like with the father and his like relationship with his daughter and not wanting to like reveal what's happening fully to his kids, but like also trying to still be there and be honest. I thought it was a very good representation of that I hadn't really read in any YA. Mm-hmm. And I liked how it still focused on the trivial day-to-day of Francesca's life, but it also talked about the family kind of in a more subtle way, which I think is very indicative of like what teenagers are. It's like, oh, this is like very tumultuous, but also I have all these emotions.
like your world at school and all the drama going on there is separate from
it's like yeah. But I didn't think it was like a glorious piece of writing, and it definitely wasn't like something that I thought was amazing and I would recommend to everyone. I didn't think the writing was like fantastic. I thought the story buildup was great, but I thought that as far as like for any teen who is dealing with like a parent with a mental illness or with like struggling with relationships with their parents, I would probably recommend it or suggest it. And I think it is like really valuable to teach, but I didn't think like story-wise there was anything like phenomenal or like mind-blowing about it that I'd be like, everyone should read this book, it's life-changing.
Yeah. I agree. I liked the story, and I liked pieces of it. I mean, I liked kind of the realism in how she developed friendships with the girls that she was kind of just put together with because of their common circumstances, even though they didn't have a lot in common to start with. I thought that I thought the writing could have been better. Particularly, I just found it really choppy with the kind of short bursts of time, and I had trouble following sometimes everything that was going on, especially with the dialogue. Like there was a lot of banter that I just like didn't catch, and I was like, do I just not understand Australian teens?
I actually so I was like reading it, and if anyone's like watching this, I know you know this, but like I lived in Australia for a while, and I was reading it and they said something, I don't even remember what it was at one point. It was like, wait, is this book in Australia? And it was like, because I had no idea. And then I like flipped to the front. I was like, where was this published? And I was like, oh, this makes so much more sense. It was like maybe like a quarter of the way into the book. And I was like, this makes so much more sense. And I think after living in Australia and like knowing a little bit more about the culture, it was probably easier for me to read even on like a very subtle context, because like it blew my mind. I was just like, wait a second. I like threw the book down. I was like, I think I was like eating Chipotle, and it was like, what is this?
Australian book, what?
Now it makes sense why you're using weird terms.
and that's probably where I got lost, because I things. And I was like, wait, did I miss something? Or are they just like, they were just like passing references to things, and I was like, wait, what are they referencing back to? Like, I don't know what's going on. So maybe that was just me, but I felt like I missed a lot.
I didn't feel like I missed a ton. I felt like there was a lot of irrelevant banter, but I think that also contributed to what I liked about the book, and that like things just kind of subtly happened without me realizing that they developed until like a certain point. So like in one way, like I felt like some chapters is like I don't really care. But then at the same time it's like, oh, that kind of develops this like personality of this person. Although I didn't feel like any of the characters were really very well developed either, other than like Francesca.
Yeah, I could never tell the difference between Thomas and Jimmy. Were those their names?
Sure. Jimmy was one of them. Thomas, Jimmy?
Maybe.
It's been a while since I read it now.
It was like there was William, and then there were these other two guys, and she would just like alternate with each of them, and then like the other two guys she became friends with, but like I couldn't remember any of the differences between them and who was who. They just seemed to
there weren't any like huge differences other than, is it Tara, the girl who was?
Yeah, she was the like social justice.
I felt like she was the only one that like really had. Oh, and I guess the other girl towards the end. What's her name? I need a list of characters.
Justine and Siobhan were the other two.
Justine.
Yeah.
The one that like all the other girls made fun of, and she's like, I never really liked them anyway.
Probably Justine, the one who played the piano accordion, which was like her one defining feature.
Yeah, and she liked that like guy on the bus.
Yes, the tuba guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the tuba, I thought it was a trombone.
No, it was tuba guy. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not sure, but
I feel like you would remember that.
Yes, tuba guy.
Yeah, I didn't feel like any of them were really fleshed out. So,
yeah, a little bit of. I think it was. They kind of were stand-ins for the point of the story, which was more like, you know, misfit girls all become friends because circumstance pushes them together, and it was like you had like the, you know, the like butch feminist and the dork and the slut, and you really go beyond that. So it was like they are very different. See how different they are, and they all become friends.
I also like kind of didn't like, there's like one point in the book where they like all the guys were describing them by those adjectives, and they're like, we don't know which one we are. And I was like, one, like we all know which ones you are, and two, like I hate that the author also like tried to force it, because there were like a couple of them. It was like, oh, you could be this one or you could be this one, and I didn't really like how it like was almost like a forced way of thinking, like, oh, now they're kind of similar, but they're not still. It was like, oh, I've spent the whole book telling you how different they are, but then you know them, but you don't know them well enough. I felt like the author wanted me to like not be able to quite tell what some of the adjectives were, which girl they described, because I felt like I knew them better, and I felt like, oh, they're not so different after all. But I really just felt like I don't really know enough about these characters to be able to fully label them, other than like obviously the butch and the like slut were
right.
The other two, it's just like
yeah, and I think that kind of played into the whole idea of Francesca's lack of identity, which is something I actually liked about. I mean, I liked where the author was going with the whole idea of like Francesca's friends from her other school who kind of like adopted her, but really kind of suppressed her own personality to be like, this is how you have to act if you want to be popular, and like we're gonna make fun of you, but it's okay because we're friends. And I liked that idea. I felt like there was too much else going on in the book for that to really
flourish.
Yeah, to be well developed. And there were several things in the book that I felt like were kind of thrown out there, but weren't really. Were at an all-boys school, and at the beginning it was all like, oh, we only have this one bathroom and we have this list of demands, and then like the fact that they were the only girls really didn't come up again in like this whole second half of the book.
I also really didn't like that there were like 4 of them, or maybe like a couple peripheral girls or something. But they said like somewhere in the book that there were like 30 girls, and I was like, where are all the other girls? Like, you're clearly not the only girl. So what happened to like? Because they said at one point like there were more girls than like the ones they focused on.
Yeah, the 4 girls that they focused on were the 4 who had come from St. Stella's.
Okay.
And then all the other girls came from other schools because they kind of like fed them in to make it a co-ed school.
But it still seems like they would have had some interaction with the other girls.
Yeah, they did it when they went to camp or whatever it was, the like school retreat thing.
Yeah,
that was really the only interaction they had, and that was kind of a set of characters as well. When they're like, oh, the Hair Bear girls all care about their appearance, and they all are in one cabin.
Yeah. Mm-mm.
So, I mean, yeah, it was disappointing because there were a lot of really good things in the book, and I felt like the author was maybe trying to do too much, and so it ended up with a lot of things just not really being developed.
Yeah, I feel like it would have made a better series maybe than a book, because I wouldn't have wanted it to be any longer. I feel like if it was any longer, it would have been annoying and dragged out, especially for like the format or YA. But I could see like a series coming out of it, or like, you know, one of those like, oh, from all these girls' perspectives or something.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
What I liked most, the ending of the book, like probably the last quarter of the book, where stuff had really, most of the stuff had been developed, like the friendships had been developed and the family relationships, we pretty much explored all the facets of that, and so then stuff could just unfold and wrap up, and I thought that worked very well. I liked the part where she ran away.
Yeah.
How kind of realistic that was. In the fact that like her friends were offended, but then they all showed up when they were worried about her, and that all played very realistically, I thought.
Yeah. I think the only like part that I really felt was very fleshed out and was very pretty, like as thorough as you can be, was like the issue of the family dynamic. Like I felt like that was done really, really well. And I almost feel like that was the point of the book, and the other stuff was just there to like push a story along. But the fact that like I feel that way as a reader kind of makes me feel like I wish you would have just like maybe used a different format, or like made it a series, or something tweaked. But I thought that like as a book that discussed like depression and discussed like situational like things, or like mother-daughter relationships or father-daughter relationships or sibling relationships, like I felt like the family aspect was very well done. Because even when I was like reading, I didn't really care about the like romance stuff or even the friendship stuff. Like I was just like, I want to know what's up with your mom. I want to know what that is. Like what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think that's why I like
the end. Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I want more people. What do you think, viewers?
Now that I'm looking over these teacher's notes, and it's like, yeah, she really did try to do a lot in this book, because there's like all of these sections like feminism and popular culture and humor and names and depression, family, friendship. Like, okay, how many life lessons can you fit into one book for your teenage audience?
Oh, there are like, yeah, kind of questions here.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I do wish that the whole thread about Francesca's identity had been a little bit more fleshed out, because I felt like we just got bits and pieces of, you know, how her friends at her old school treated her, and like how her mom tried to make her be a certain way, and but then it was like by the end, I guess we were supposed to figure that she developed her own identity, but I'm not really sure how or in what way.
I kind of felt like she was on the way to developing her own identity more than I felt like she does have an identity. Also, what is this question? What Pride and Prejudice character does Francesca identify with? Is that supposed to be a leading question?
She doesn't she identify with Kitty, who they can't even remember her name?
Oh yeah, she does say that in the book. I was like, what? Like,
which I think is again supposed to play into this idea that Francesca is more like in the background and nobody notices her except when they want to make her into something they want her to be. Which I just felt like, I don't know, I felt like there was a lot more talking about that than we actually saw that happening.
Yeah. Just like, I'm still thinking about like when I was reading and I was just like, wait, is this Australia? Like, I had to take like a breather. It was like, this makes so much more sense. Because I went into the book, I mean, I didn't even really read what it was about before I started reading it. I just was like, Jessica's going to kill me if I don't finish another book for a book club. So I have to read this one now.
Especially because I would have been all by myself this time.
Oh, yeah. Well, maybe we should do bi-monthly meetings.
Do what?
Like every other month. Everyone has 2 months. You have no excuse.
I'm starting to think maybe we should do like, this is the month that we read it, and then this is the month when we try to schedule a discussion for, because we just end up pushing it so far into next month.
I mean, aren't we supposed to be almost discussing
The Elegance of the Hedgehog? Yes.
Yeah. Have you read it?
I read it last year from my other book club. I talked about that last time.
Oh, yeah, and you didn't like it. I remember now.
It.
So you're not going to reread it, I'm sure.
No, I don't have any plans to. That's the one where the girl was like, "It's my favorite book ever. I hope everyone loved it." I was like,
It's not mine. Pressure.
But yeah, that's probably it.
I don't have a ton more to like add about Francesca.
Yeah, I don't think I do either. I
was just thinking maybe while we're recording, we should finish talking about the book, and then if we want to talk about book things, we can talk about them after the recording. I did like it. I would recommend it for like kids who were going through something like divorce or going through something like depression or like parental distancing or loss. Like I feel like those, like I feel like I would recommend it more as a teaching though than like this is really fun to read. Whereas like if I suggested like Paper Towns or something, it would be like, no, this is like really fun. Like you should read this. It's enjoyable. But I feel like Francesca is more like a lesson.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was just looking back through the teacher's notes, and it's like kind of excessive, but I think that there's definitely evidence that the author wrote it with that in mind, that it would be taught and discussed and analyzed, and
maybe that's the problem. You can't write to be discussed. You want to write, and then maybe. Yeah. That's probably not true.
Yeah, there's For examples of Francesca's use of humor. Under what circumstances does she make jokes? Look at the subtlety and intelligence of her humor. I don't remember anything like that. If I went back and like analyzed the text for an analysis paper, then maybe I could answer a question like that. But
yeah,
wasn't something that jumped out at me when I read it.
There was like a line that I really liked towards the end, but I can't remember what it was, and I returned the book to the library.
Well, I have my Kindle app open if you can remember anything about it.
I don't remember. Maybe I took a picture of it with my phone. I think I remember thinking, I'm gonna have to return this before we discuss it. Maybe I should take a picture of it. But I've also cleaned out my phone a few times. It also might not be relevant for discussion. It might just be like, oh, Meryl really liked that quote.
It's okay.
Anyway. Should we hypothesize what we think other members of book club would think about it?
Like it. I don't know why. I like it. I wasn't gonna read any more of it.
We can role play. I'll be Pam.
Pam, why didn't you like the book?
Didn't Pam vote for the book?
Maybe, I don't know. Oh yeah, she nominated the book. Apparently without having read it.
Yeah. Oh, no, we try. I think it's lost.
Okay.
I think whatever quote it was is lost.
Let me see if there's
I have like over 1,000 pictures on my phone. I don't think it's gonna be important enough for me to like, find it.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. It reminded me a lot of The Perks of Being a Wallflower, but that may have just been me.
I really liked The Perks of Being a Wallflower a lot, but I think I also read it at a time that, like, it's kind of like Catcher in the Rye, where, like, you gotta read it at the right time in your life.
Yeah.
To, like, love it.
Yeah, I did not particularly care for it, but I think why this book reminded me of that was that there were a lot of scenes, and I think this was trying to underline Francesca's lack of identity or whatever, but it was like there was stuff going on around her and she was just kind of not reacting and not participating and just kind of observing.
Yeah.
That was a lot of The Perks of Being a Wallflower.
But I felt like, and maybe this is a character thing, I felt like the characters in Perks of Being a Wallflower I could visualize. Whereas, like, if I think about any of the characters in Francesca, I can't even picture what I think they look like.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, I think of Perks of Being a Wallflower, and when the movie came out, I was like, that's not what that person looks like, you know?
That's funny, because I actually loved the movie.
I liked the movie. I thought it was really well done.
Yeah, I did not enjoy the experience of reading the book, but I liked the movie a lot.
I think it's interesting you went to see the movie if you didn't like the book.
Well, we were getting a Redbox rental, and that was the only thing my sister and I could both agree that we would be interested in watching. So.
Fair enough. At least you admit it.
What's that?
I said, at least you admitted it. I feel like it takes a lot. Like, it's a really loved book.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of, like, a loved book that I hated that everyone else loved. I hated Attachments by Rainbow Rowell.
I haven't read it, but I've heard lots of things about it. But I did not like Eleanor and Park, so I haven't.
Oh, I loved Eleanor and Park.
Picked up anything else by her.
I've read Eleanor and Park, Attachments, and half of Landmine. The end. Attachments was awful. I liked Eleanor and Park a lot. And Landline is like, I stopped reading it halfway. I'll probably finish it at some point.
Yeah.
but anyway. Any last thoughts?
What?
Any last thoughts about Francesca? We keep getting.
No.
I feel like we fleshed it out.
Yeah. Okay, well.
Cool.
Next month or whenever we get around to it, we will be discussing.
December, we will be discussing. No? Not funny? Too soon? Too close?
We'll see. We might have to propose to Eli before the next poll that we space them out a little bit more.
Yeah.
We'll see. All right. Thank you for discussing. I'm going to stop the broadcast.
Okay. Bye, broadcast.